Where you from? Man, I'm from down in the valley.
I got people trying to wish and pray that I'ma fall about it, all about it till we spoke in person. Don't wanna talk about it now, huh? Oh, you sound tough, toying with them, don't get wound up. How you wound up? Another number in the round up. Put the town up, built the sling up.
You mean like San Antonio? Nah, man, farther.
Got the east side flow. I'm a giant in the space like FIFA. All the kids
V's up, player.
Every time when they see my show, thinking that it happened overnight.
Let's start the show, Wattis.
Hey, what's up, everybody? It's Danny with Down the Valley Sports, and we're back to talk a little spring football for UTRGV. The Vaqueros have been practicing. They have an upcoming spring game, and we're going to talk about linebacker. Now, we're going to switch it up a little bit and move over to the other side of the ball with defense. And, linebacker is a really strong position for the Vaqueros. So I'm wondering, Roy, do we have the best linebacker duo, not just in the conference, but maybe in the country?
Yes. Stop the show.
Yeah, yeah,
Nah, I mean, honestly, and I'm not being a homer, I think we do. I mean, the first person we got to talk about is Jaden Heygood, right? You're looking at a freshman All-American, from multiple outlets reported, a 6 foot, slightly undersized, but just a end-to-end linebacker. Last year had 102 tackles, 45 solo tackles, tackles for loss, 1 sack, 6 double-digit tackle games. So a guy like that as a freshman is not replicable around the country. Local kid from San Antonio, so he's got that 210 to 956 persona that we're liking, right? Somebody that we were lucky enough to keep here in the Valley, and was able to get him to stay here with us and look at year two. He's coming back for a reason, and that's to win a championship. So to that point with Jaden Heygood, I feel like he is already one of the best, and with another offseason, another way to get bigger, is only going to get better to be able to do it. Then we got Spencer Reggie Rich, right? 6'2", 232, from Nashville, Tennessee, Brentwood High School, multiple stops in college, was at Memphis, Utah Tech, and then UTRGV. He recorded 98 total tackles, top 10 in the Southland Conference, 8 tackles a game, 3 fumble recoveries, 4 double-digit tackle games, a 13 all-conference guy, just a veteran presence with real production that had also an opportunity to leave and decided to come back to solidify this linebacker core. So to your point, do we have the best linebacker duo in the conference? Check mark, yes. Right? Do we have the best in the FCS? Half check mark. Only because I think they're going to be better this year. And I think they're going to come back and do more than they did last year. What do you think, Juarez?
yeah. I'm right there with you. You have All-American in Heygood, and then an All-Conference player in Spencer Rich playing out of the 4-2-5. Although we were just talking a second ago, they like to mix up, formations and schemes, so they can get as many linebackers on the field as they want, depending on the down and distance, right? But I was very much grateful and happy that Haygood decided to come back. He probably had opportunities to enter the transfer portal and get some cheddar, but he decided to stick around and try and win us maybe not just a conference but a national championship. That's what we'd like to see, brought down to the Rio Grande Valley. But yeah, no, something I noticed as well, just looking at Spencer Rich's stats, he had some tackles for loss. He was getting in the backfield. So these guys are disruptors, right? They're playmakers, disruptors, really strong duo there at linebacker. And yeah, I mean, and we have some talent behind them as well.
Yeah, and I think that's what I wanted to ask next, right? We're top heavy with our two guys coming back, but what do you think about the depth outside of those two that we have? Because we do play that 4-2-5, right? So we're going to have some players coming in when maybe if we go 4-3 or something like that. What do you think about the depth of our linebacker room?
Yeah, I think not only do we have the best duo, but we might have the best depth in the conference as well. You saw statistically some of the guys showed up on tape as well. Jackson Maynard showed some flashes during that open practice that everyone got to come down to the VAC and check out. Wearing that zero, that's a fun number right there to be agent zero. It kind of reminds you, maybe isn't the same size and speed as DeMarvion Overshone from Texas now with the Dallas Cowboys, but that zero is a a big number. You got some big shoes to fill wearing a really fun number like that. And you got Trey Bright as well. Redshirt freshman out of Barbers Hill. Barbers Hill is a great program out of it's just east of Houston. So we talked about San Antonio area products. This is a Houston area product as well that could step up. Should we maybe be blowing out some teams, or Heygood and Rich want to get some rest. We can bring in guys like Trey Bright. We can bring in guys like Jackson Wade. A League City, another Houston area product. So, not to mention, some of the transfer prospects that came in with, Walker DeHarce, a defensive player of the year at in the JUCO ranks. Same with Henry Schouten, a D2 top 100 player out of Bentley. So, yeah, man, it's just stacking talent and great players at that position where I don't think you'll see a drop off should Heygood and Rich get some rest. Who knows? We'll see. But we got some strong depth there.
Yeah, and I'm really looking to see what happens in the spring game with the depth. I mean, if I was UTRGV, I wouldn't even play Rich and Haga, to be honest with you. I mean, it
Yeah,
makes no sense to even do it. I don't know what they're going to do. I don't know, but you have top heavy linebackers like that. Let Maynard get in there. Let Trey Bright get in there. Let them show what they can do. They need the reps. They need to get out there and play against the first team offense if they
agreed.
can, because the iron sharpens iron type of deal. They can't get that with the second team. So I don't know what they're going to do Saturday at the spring game. I'm really interested in looking at that, but I wouldn't even play those guys. I would just play the backups to let them get loose and see what they can do, and then let those guys be coaches on the sideline. So I wouldn't be mad at that. It might not make the fans happy if that happens, but
Sure.
I think I would be happy because I get to see the other linebackers in there and see what they can do and see how they can produce. And our guy Walker, right, Mr. D. Harsh is a cool cat that we saw at the open practice. I would love to see him get some run and see how Henry can do it. And then we got other guys out there too. Landon Gascap, we're looking at that guy. We got Warren Schenkel that got a little bit of run last year. That was a transfer from Prairie View, right? So this depth has numbers, right? Now it's time to get some development and some work. So I think the
Great
spring
point.
game will be very pivotal for that.
No, those are both excellent points. You know what you have in Haygood and Rich, the top two tacklers on the year. They're proven, right? You don't need to see anything else out of them in the spring. You just got to keep them in shape and healthy, right? So that come fall camp and the season, they're ready to go. So I completely agree with you. Now it's on to developing that depth, right? With Maynard, Wade, Shankel, Dehar, Schouten, there's a lot of really good talent behind them. But you could tell also last season, Rich sort of came alive against Prairie View, right? Sometimes you got to see how these guys, perform when the action is live, right? Like there's only so much you could see in practice and simulated type of activities and scrimmages. Like you need to see how they respond during the game, and the coaches, they're always going to put the players on the field that they feel give them the best chance to win, right? So test them out, test them out during an actual spring game, right? Some of that depth, develop them and see what they could do maybe this fall.
I agree. Definitely be out there for the spring game. A last question I have for us to talk about is, can this defense win championships?
Man, that's a big question, right? Because that's like the old saying, right? Defense wins championships. the offense has some question marks, with some big departures. It's been an ongoing, discussion. We got to see it to believe it probably come the spring game and this fall, because we know what we have on the defense with, 9 out of 11 returning starters, right? So I think to some degree you're going to have to rely on them to make a championship run, and at every level, man. We haven't talked about the defensive line, but that gets me just as excited as the linebacker position. So I think it can. I think it could shut down. This defense can shut down the best Southland Conference offense. I have no doubt in my mind. And sometimes you have some off games here and there. Some opposing teams game plan. They put stuff on the field that you didn't see on tape, so you get caught off guard. But pound for pound, I think we have the best defense in the conference to lead us to a championship.
I agree. And a 10-point season average points per game put less pressure on our offense, which right now we're looking to develop, right? New quarterback, new running back, new receivers. So it can help the offense be less, stressed out to begin the game where we got 3 and outs, throughout the first half to be able to get some good runs. And if the offense struggles, we can lean back on the defense. And we are turnover machines,
Yeah.
right? So our linebackers can lead the group to the promised land if we're able to get the full buy-in to get this rotation and the depth shored up. And that's the question: is can this depth on the linebacking crew sure up to the point where if Rich Haga needs a break or something were to happen, we're going to plug and play and keep the defensibility up. So we're talking specifically linebackers here, and I think we have the personnel to be able to make this one of those defenses where we can say, "And we got 6 games in, and even UTSA didn't score many points on us, right?"
Yeah.
And these guys are high level, high major FBS linebackers that we have, so we're going to lean on them. So I'm excited about it.
Yeah, think of it this way, right? Because I just came back to the team stats. Last year, with most of the same personnel, we gave up less than 3 touchdowns, right? So the points per game for our opponents was less than 19 points. So if you can squeeze in 3 touchdowns per game on average and hold your opponent to the same scoring average that we had last year, then we can win a lot of games. We can maybe win a championship.
That's what it's all about. Excited about it and love the being able to see the stats. It really helps out.
Definitely. Well, hey, those of you tuning in, we appreciate y'all as always. Like, follow, and subscribe. And as always, V's up.
Let's go.